Hello and welcome back to Talking Pitchside. I am your host PJ with my co-host Tony, as always, back in our wheelhouse. It feels like it's like riding a bike. And MLS comes back, we're like,
You
we were
never
saying in the
forget it.
pre-show, we know the
Yeah.
names, that's like our people, like international soccer. Like it has been a joy. I mean, World Cup has been awesome to have the United States, all the storylines, Team USA, everything under the sun. Still not over. We've got some great games we're going to talk about here in a minute. But we are back. We have games to preview for this Thursday. MLS is back. You know, they started the campaign today on social media. I don't know if you saw that, Tony. They were hyping
Yeah, a
up
little bit.
like
Yeah.
tune in today to for this, and it was just literally an ad for the MLS being back, which I feel like we're probably about a month late on hyping up the MLS during the World Cup. So that's here or there. I don't want to. It's not the time. It's not the time to hate on it. It's time to celebrate that we get to watch the MLS again. And we don't have a gap of soccer this year. That's something to celebrate. We do not have a gap of soccer at any point. So before we get into the MLS, before we're going to do transfers today, we're going to do the preview of those four games that are on Thursday. We'll recap them on Friday, do the preview of some games that are going to happen over the weekend as well. But before all of that, like I said, we still have some World Cup games going on. We're in the Final Four now. Great games in these knockout rounds. Um, I think with all the drama, all of the crazy games that have happened, because I think it has been one of the more entertaining World Cups in recent history in terms of just like the sheer amount of extra time games that are happening right now is
Mm.
ridiculous.
It's nuts.
Um, it's nuts. That all being said, Tony, for the first time ever, we have literally the top four teams in FIFA rankings in the Final Four of the FIFA World Cup. Never happened before. We, we're in our March Madness era with our four number one seeds basically going at it here in the Final Four, which
Yeah.
I think you can look at it and say that's a little boring. Like you love to see more variety, but in the same like vein, I'm excited because I'm like, you get to watch just three heavyweight games to finish off this World Cup, and that's a treat.
Correct.
As a neutral,
Yeah.
if you're not part of these countries that are in it, that is a treat. I mean, Argentina, England, Spain, France. You couldn't have asked for a better ending to this World Cup in terms of star power, just going at it. All the storylines. You know, you have Mbappe and Lamine Yamal going at it. These two teams were the favorites coming into this tournament. They're going to go head to head in the semifinal. Then on the other side, you have the reigning champs in Messi and Argentina going against England, who have just been trying to will it home for 60 years now, trying to break through, and they're going to have to beat the champs to do it, which is, I think, is such a terrific storyline in itself. So, um, give me before we get in the previews, like our predictions, just your reaction to that. Like, are you excited for that as a neutral? Is that more exciting than having, say, like a Morocco in the last World Cup make a run like they do and then flame out in the Final Four and almost gives like the team it almost gives the team of like if they say it was three stronger teams that is playing a team like that an easy path to the final. I don't want to say easy, nothing's easy at this point, but
Yeah. Right.
an easier path to the final. And now instead it's like all four of these teams you're gonna have to freaking earn it to get through to this final.
Right. I hold two perspectives with this. The one is like you said, where it's like this is the best of the best here. Like we're gonna have some really high quality teams battling it out in the semifinals and the
Mm-hmm.
finals, and like that's gonna be excellent as someone who watches soccer a lot. I think the neutrals. I think like a lot of air had just kind of went out of the sails when like Norway got knocked out and when Morocco got knocked out, and some of those things were like the Cinderellas were a lot of fun to just really hype up. Like I had a
Mm-hmm.
coworker who knows nothing about soccer saying, I keep seeing this Holland guy on like my Instagram reels and stuff, and he is awesome.
By
And
the way,
like this, yeah,
winner of the tournament in my if an individual player
yes,
win a tournament, I think
correct.
some people had predicted coming in like Holland could be the guy that's going to go like to another level, star power in this tournament. He
Hmm.
just has
He
destroyed
he owned
everybody in
it,
that
man.
category.
Yes,
Like from
yes,
like a younger generation watching perspective, everyone loves it. Everyone loves him. I mean, we know him, and we already do love him for all the like things he does, like antics wise in the Premier League in a day to day basis. And on top of that, he is just arguably the most entertaining player to watch on the field because of how large he is and what he does.
right.
And he's also just so in touch with social media. Like he
He's
knows how
very
to
in touch.
he knows
Yeah,
how to get into it.
all the
Like
comments.
yeah.
Yeah, Correct.
he's gone to
And
another
like,
level.
yeah, he's unforgettable just in like how he looks, but then his posture is awesome. Like, like all the things just line up. Like the stars just align perfectly for people to just like. I know nothing about soccer, but this guy's like so funny and so good and like all the things, right?
Has a funny YouTube
Um,
channel, by the way.
I haven't even checked that
He has
out.
like his own
Yeah,
personal YouTube channel. I watched it. Someone like said that to me, and I was like, oh, let me go check it out. And
yeah.
he's been doing like vlogs basically in the USA for the World Cup. Really funny. Like he's
Okay,
like I said, he's just totally he knows what he's doing. He's smart
yeah.
about it. Entertaining kid and loves
Great for
what he
him. More
does.
power
Yep.
to him. So the point being, like, I do think there's a little bit of momentum lost when it comes to the neutral fan and like being able to rally on like a Norway or something like that. So I think there's a bummer with that. Personally, myself, I'm very excited for this
Hmm.
Final Four here. Though I can definitely understand, like, I think a little bit like the media. I mean, obviously the media is going to find ways to hype all this up, and like the Messi stuff is going to be crazy. But I think from people who are like pretty fresh to soccer or don't really tune in until like all of a sudden we're hosting this World Cup. I do worry a little bit that it's like, yeah, this is the best soccer, but is it necessarily the best entertainment? And like, it goes back and forth. We'll see how those games play out, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I think when it comes to like the characters and the advertising, like, it's not quite the caliber that it was with some of these Cinderella teams that you're rooting for.
Yeah, totally. I think the only other side of the argument is the casual knows the stars, and there's
Yeah,
a star on every single one of these teams
it's
that
true.
everyone basically, if you've been watching the World Cup, knows at this point. If France, it's Mbappe. Everyone knows Mbappe now. If you didn't already, I think Spain is probably the lowest out of the four, which is funny enough because
Right.
they are so good. But Lamine Yamal, I mean, I think more so than any of the other stars that I'm about to name, like just familiarity with the U.S. has been probably the lowest, and because he doesn't speak English. I know Messi doesn't either, who I'm going to name next, but like Messi, he doesn't speak English, and he's like a kid still. Like it's just he's not quite at that level. Spain's like a unit, like they are a team.
Right.
It really feels like more than these other teams. And then Jude, I think, has hit another level as well in terms of starting what he's doing on the field. A lot of people know Harry Kane for England, and then of course Messi. I mean, the U.S. fans know Messi. We've been watching Messi on a day-to-day basis, so it's no surprise to us that he's still in this and he's still doing what he's doing. But I think the MLS is pumped that he's still in it because it's only going to help their marketing and what they're doing if he continues on here. So let's get into the preview. We had two games at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday and Wednesday and our time zone. Remember, U.S. fans, this is done because the European audience is much larger than us, and it's
Hmm.
their teams that are in it, and like the South American team, like these are the teams left. So this is who they're going to market to. But I will definitely selfishly at work be watching these games, and it will be taking my full attention because I'm so excited. We got France and Spain first. This game, Tony, I think is going to be uh boring in like a
Yeah.
for like a casual fan because I think these two teams are so good. Like, but these two teams are the favorite. Whoever wins this game is the favorite to win the final, like no matter what. And
Hmm.
it's just because they're just well-oiled machines. Like they defend well, the midfield is strong, the attack is excellent. I'll be surprised if this game becomes like a 3-2 type of game. Like I'm expecting a 2-1 type result where it's going to be like 1-1 to like the 80th plus minute. And someone's gonna have to do like probably Mikel Moreno again is gonna pull something out of a hat and just be like, here's another goal, here you go, Spain. But I really do think this game will be favoring whoever just has the patience. Like who's not going to get more frustrated and is going to slow down and allow them themselves to break down the other team. Now, I do think this game favors France. I think France, the way that they've been playing, is ridiculous. Spain has kind of been like eking out victories, and I think that's kind of scary if you're playing in Spain because like we still haven't seen them play their best and they just keep winning. Like they just keep beating good teams and winning. And France, on the other hand, is just an offensive juggernaut. I mean, like Michael Lise, who is not is he out in this game or is he out in the last game? I think he was out
Um,
last game. I think
yeah,
he's
I don't
back
think
for
he's.
this one.
Yeah, I agree.
So Michael Olise, Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele just won the Ballon d'Or. Like these guys are
Yeah,
ridiculous up front, and the midfield's strong, defense is strong. But it comes down to what can Mbappe do against this Spain defense that has allowed, I think, like one or two goals this entire tournament. So it is a stout defensive unit that is um, going to like just make you grind out and be patient. And we've seen Mbappe get frustrated with that in the past, and be frustrated by a group like this. So I'm interested to see how he finds his moment, and he will. Like Mbappe will have a moment or three in this game where it's going to be like he's 101. Can he finish the shot? And more times than not in World Cup settings, we've seen Mbappe do it. I think that Spain, although Yamal is terrific and he's still only 18, 19 years old, there's not someone up top necessarily right now that I'm like feeling really super confident about in a 1v1 scenario where I'm like this guy has the moment as besides Miguel Moreno at this
yeah,
point,
he's been
uh,
insane. Yeah,
which he probably won't start again. I'd be surprised if he does, because they just use him as the perfect super sub. But I just think that's where France is a little bit ahead of Spain right now. But Spain's defense is better than France's defense. Like it's more consistent. So, I, like I said, I think this comes down to a late goal, an extra time type game. Like I'm expecting these two teams to throw everything they have at each other, and I'm interested to see how that affects them in the final. But this is like this is almost like as good as a final. These two teams going
yeah,
at it in a semifinal like this.
yeah. I mean, honestly, like just in in a not lame way, this is how a lot of people kind of would have picked their brackets to go, where you have these two crashing into each other as late as possible. I agree with you that I think that this is not necessarily the game that's going to have the marquee back and forth high scoring score line. I think that this one is going to be a little bit cagier. Spain has had that way in a lot of their games where they've really tried to grip games by their possession, and really just like methodically work their way through opponents and through defenses to score. That being said, I think that in a way that favors France. That you just mentioned, like all the high level attackers with them, and I think specifically like where you really like Mbappe, where you really like Dembele is on these counterattacks, where you can get them space and they're running in behind. And I think that Spain's game kind of naturally builds those pockets for those French attackers. So I agree. I think this one leans France, but I think it's going to be really cagey. Spain's not going to be very adventurous with the ball. I think they're going to be, make sure that they can complete the next pass kind of mentality, and not really get all out there. So it's going to be a matter of who cracks first. I think that eventually that will be Spain. I know you kind of said like you rate Spain's defense higher than France's defense, and I agree with that. But I do think that France's defense can defend when appropriate in the sense of being pretty well 8 to 10 guys behind the ball, and we're just going to go back and forth and wait for our moment, and then we're going to find our guys running in behind. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that ultimately this one does lean towards France. I think it's going to be really cagey, but as soon as that first goal happens, and maybe that's earlier than what we think, but as soon as that first goal happens, then it gets nuts. Whether that's in extra time, whether that's in the first half, whatever cracks this game open is when all hell's going to break loose. But till then, it is going to be very, I think, methodical and kind of more like watching a chess match than an open, free flowing soccer game.
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams that want the possession, and someone's not going to have possession at all times. Like that,
Right.
so they're going to be in uncomfortable situations that they haven't been in all tournament. Like they've gone on to every other game as the favorite and the team that controls possession, and that is not going to happen in this game necessarily all the time. So, a lot of times we say it's going to roll out, it's going to be a slow pace. Like all it takes for one moment early in a game, and it can really open something like this up. Like you
Yeah.
said, like say Mbappe just gets loose and there's an error or a back pass that doesn't go well, and someone scores off that, it changes this game plan of this game entirely, where it could become a shootout. But I think it's just gonna be really tight. I'd be shocked if anyone runs away with this victory. I really would be shocked. I can't imagine it. I'm gonna go France. I think
Yeah.
they have just been the best team in the tournament so far. I can't pick against them at this point. I actually picked Spain, I think, to win it in my preview. But after just watching these two teams play, I just don't know how you can't pick France. Like, and it's a group that's won the World Cup recently. Like, at least with the same guy leading the charge. So two countries recently that have won like Euros and the World Cup. So these are groups that know how to win, know how to like grind out wins. So that's why I think we both are like, this is going to be a cagey type
Yeah.
result that is going to need a moment of brilliance from somebody from whoever wins this game.
And you just, I don't know. I think you see more likelihood of like that moment of brilliance coming from France. It's not to say like Spain's interesting in the sense that like they can be methodical, and then all of a sudden Lamine Yamal, takes two touches and like he's ripped
That's
a crazy shot, but like I don't know. It just seems more likely to come from France.
that's the thing that like that's what's so hard about teams this good is I've been like you haven't seen a ton from like Spain and Lamine Yamal this tournament, and then Lamine Yamal could show up and just have a hat trick, and I wouldn't be
Right.
shocked either because he's that good.
And they'd all be
So
bangers. Yeah.
yep, it could go that way, or Yarzabal just figures it out and just starts scoring like crazy, like we know he can at an international level. So it will be a good one. Now on the other side of the bracket here, I expect a completely opposite game, Tony, and that is England versus Argentina. Two teams that defensively can just go wild at any point. Like that, that's what makes this matchup interesting. That both these defenses are prone to just make a stupid mistake at any moment, but the teams are so good that they like make up for it most of the time.
Hmm.
Think about these two teams and how they've gotten to this point. Argentina has barely survived for like three straight games. They've been extra time in three straight games. They've gotten through. England has barely survived for like three straight games now. I mean, go down to 10 men at the Azteca against Norway. They're down. They've been losing in a lot of these games, and it's taken moments of brilliance from Jude to make up for defensive mistakes and things like that. So both these teams are have been scoring goals, have been allowing goals, and I think that's going to result in an absolutely chaotic game here. I'm imagining the winner's 3-2. Like I don't know who it is, but I imagine that's what the final scoreline will be. I wouldn't be shocked if this game also goes to extra time. Like that's how even these matchups are on both sides. That I it's hard to predict a winner. Like I'm not going to be shocked by any outcome of the final because that's how close both these matchups are.
Yeah.
I think I naturally lean Argentina just because of the winning pedigree. Like they just figure out how to win games, and like there's so much pressure on this English squad. Like as much as like it sucks they have to play Argentina, you'd rather play Argentina than the other two guys in the bracket right now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's like this is the best path. They've had the best pathway to the final, both Argentina and England. They've played favorable opponents all the way, and now are finally playing someone that's at their level. And I think that's what's going to be interesting to see is how both these teams respond to that because they haven't been always playing their best at the right moment. I mean, you saw Tuchel like they're going to the semifinal. He's like pissed off in the
Yeah.
press conference after saying that like they did not play well at all in that game, and I. Argentina would say the same. I mean, they've just been surviving. Like it's been taking moments of brilliance. They come back from 2-0 down against Egypt. Julian Alvarez scores the most ridiculous shot, maybe of the tournament.
Yeah.
It looked like the Cape Verde goal that was scored against them earlier
Yes.
in this tournament, and that's just these two teams haven't died, and someone's gonna have to die today, and I don't know who, but the problem is I don't know if I can pick against Lionel Messi right now. And like, am I also picking against like the refs because like that's how things have been going for Argentina? So like, well, what is this all going to look like? So no matter what happens, this game's going to be scrappy. Like I know that for a fact. I think these two teams are physical teams that are going to get into it. Guys that are familiar with each other, like tons of Premier League players on the field in this matchup, like all over the field, for both Argentina and England. That guys that know each other, like the Argentina backline is all Premier League. Like these guys are
Yeah.
they're gonna know how these
Right.
guys play and be physical. Christian Romero and Harry Kane were teammates for a little bit. Like that's like the type of relationship these guys have where they're gonna know how to get in each other's heads, how to like get at each other, and you know that's where I'm like. I've seen this Argentina squad rise to the occasion in a mentality, like physical way, against teams like this. Like they are the least talented team of all like of all of these four teams. Like that is just like factual. But as a team, they play so close knit and so tight together. Like they just keep like by the power of friendship and Lionel Messi just keep pulling out victories, and it's just like I'm just gritting because these matchups are going to be so fun, and I think it's going to be a high scoring one. I think Messi's going to have a say in this one. I think Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane are going to have a say in this one. I'm not going to be shocked if England goes to the final, but I think they're really going to have to earn it because I think
Hmm.
we could see Argentina really break down this English defense that has looked shaky at times, and they have not played an attack that is as good as Argentina's at any point. I know Norway's great, like they have great players that are great individuals, but then they're like randomly surrounded around guys that are just like pretty average players. Like they're gonna have to go against this Argentina attack that like Lautaro Martinez and Julian Alvarez and Messi and all these guys that have just like know how to play with each other at all times. That I think is just going to be a different animal for this English defense to go against. So I'm interested to know how they respond to that. And both these teams have got to be tired at this point of the tournament too, which I think
Oh
could
yeah.
result in goals because people are just on tired legs. Like these two teams have, I would guess, have probably played the most minutes out of any of the four remaining teams by a landslide because of the sheer amount of extra time
Right.
games that they both had.
Yeah. I mean, if Spain France is a chess match, then England Argentina is a bar fight. Like this game will be like
It's
a
going to be like
lot
that in the stands
more back
too.
and forth. Yeah,
Probably best two remaining fan bases is English
that's
fans and
true.
Argentina
That's
fans. Like
true.
I want to see the stadium. Like how split is that going to be? Like is it going to be? I think I would guess more Argentina fans, but there's been a great English fan turnout for these games as well.
Yeah, the French can be exciting sometimes too, but
Mm,
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, these two are more prolific for sure.
yeah.
I think for me, like, the biggest thing is going to be like seeing the response. Like you mentioned, like Tuchel's comments after the game against Belgium, and them being like frustrated with how they played, and then at the same time, like Bellingham's like clap back, basically like, well, like that's his, yeah, like basically it was a non-answer, but clearly very frustrated by like getting that kind of question. And I just wonder how much of that is going to be like impacting like how this game plays out for England, how well they're collaborating, what the relationships look like between coach and manager and stuff, all those things, right? Like I worry that like a rift like that, like I understand Tuchel's trying to press the button a little bit to fire the guys up, but does that backfire a little bit in the sense that like, okay, now we're all a little bit pissed off at the coach and not gonna like follow a cohesive plan. It'll be interesting to see how it follows up because, like you said, Argentina runs on the fumes of friendship and Messi, and I do worry. Like I think that like if you put a gun to my head, I think I'd pick England in this one. I know that Argentina's got that winning pedigree that you talk about, but I just feel like England's resume up to this point has been a little bit more solid. Argentina has had some like games that have probably put people into cardiac arrest against teams that should not have ended that way. Like it's been insanely entertaining as a neutral, but like how in the world is Argentina going to extra time and almost like penalties against Cape Verde? Like those kind of things are what concerns me about this Argentina team is that there just is definitely cracks in the armor. The
Hmm.
defense is prone to flaws, and I just think that England has enough quality to take care of that. But like I said, like if England's all pissed off at each other, Argentina's riding high on their vibes. Like I could see the game flipping the other way and them really kind of taking it to England if they're slower to their challenges and not really winning their duels. So I really in split on the middle of this one. I think it's going to be a great game. I do think like you said, we see goals here, but ultimately I think I got to follow England on this and just trust my gut that overall quality of player I think just lays with England a little bit more.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. It's going to be entertaining. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this all turns out. We'll do the final preview on next episode. We'll touch on that as well because that game is on Saturday, upcoming after the result of these ones. So we'll recap
Sunday.
and do a quick preview as well. Okay. Well, let's get into some MLS news, Tony,
Oh
our
my
bread and butter.
goodness.
And to
Yeah.
start us off, we are going to going to do some transfer news. So we have been touching on some transfer news and talking about it briefly in these episodes, but we haven't like fully dived into everything that has happened. And we're gonna use this as like a time just to speak on that. Let's get up to date with what's been going on in the MLS and what's changed with our league since the last time we met, because a lot has
Yeah.
changed. There's a lot of change that has gone on, and still a lot more to come. So we'll continue to update you on that as that comes through, because the transfer window just officially opened today, as recording on Monday the 13th. So it just opened. So we're gonna have a little bit of time here as transfers come on in and updates come for these teams. Uh, Tony, I really don't even know where to start. So we have Antoine Griezmann's in. So that happened. We've talked about that. We've had plenty of response time to that. So
Right.
I don't think we need to address that right now. But we'll see the first of him after this break here. So that it's almost like a new transfer because we haven't seen him yet. I just want to acknowledge that first. Like, I think he is the biggest name that is probably coming over during this window so far. I think the second biggest is the one we've talked about briefly in one of the episodes during the World Cup, which is Robert Lewandowski in the Chicago Fire. And that one, there's so many layers to this one because
Yeah.
him alone. Him alone as a player, one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. We said it in the last episode. If Ronaldo and Messi don't exist, like he is the best goal scorer of his generation. Like that, like, he is just the next guy. So like that's the pedigree of player that you're getting. Like he is just going to be up front and he's going to bag 20 plus goals a season. Like that's just going to happen. The
Right.
reality is that Chicago already has a striker that's doing the same thing, and Hugo Kuipers that is the league leader in goals right now in the MLS. So now it's going to result in a system change for Chicago than what they've been playing in the first half to get both these guys on the field together, because that's as of right now the plan. Like they've kind of said Hugo Kuipers isn't going anywhere, and now they're going to play them together, and I'm really interested to see how that looks. Like I think it is exciting as a neutral. As a Chicago fan, I mean, you're so excited for it because it's just an awesome
Right.
signing. Like first marquee signing, I think in Chicago since Schweinsteiger, and like this new era of the MLS, like probably their best signing ever. Shaqiri was in there, but it's nowhere near the level of Robert Lewandowski. Like, not even
Yeah.
close. And I think it's exciting, but at the same time, I think you've got to be a little concerned with how this is all going to look at the same time and how much time this is going to take to gel, because this was a team coming into the break that is playing their best football we've seen from Chicago in years. I mean, like over 10 years since we've seen Chicago do anything like this. So I think I'd be a little concerned, but you wipe away those concerns because you're saying we're bringing in one of the best players in the league now, and that's just the reality of what they did. And it's exciting as a neutral to see that type of talent come in the league.
Yeah. I think what it really breaks down to is what's the load share going to be like? Because obviously, like you said, like Kuipers was on a roll, and a lot of what Chicago was built around was, let's advance the ball, let's get into attacking positions, and let's find Hugo. And now you've got Lewandowski to throw in the mix there. It's not just one guy. And from a Chicago's perspective, that could be like an insanely like dangerous, awesome thing. In the sense, it's like, oh, if I'm playing Chicago, I just gotta know like, okay, well they're gonna look for Kuipers. Let's just get two guys on him. Well, now you can't do that when you got Lewandowski, and he's just as dangerous, if not more, than Kuipers
Mm-hmm.
is, and can scramble defenses that way. So in theory, like you said, like there's probably a lot of not pessimism, but like cautious optimism, and like how does this all look and work together? And I think that's all really valid. But I mean, on paper, this could work really well. And Lewandowski's probably taken maybe not quite as 10 of a role as like Robert Lode was. But I think he's going to be floating a little bit underneath as that second striker. And so what you're really losing with that, or maybe not losing, but pivoting to, is that your other midfielders, who in this case are probably going to be Slatros and Davila, like those guys are going to sit back and take more defensive roles in the game and kind of protect their back line, who's not bad either because it's made of center backs and Jack Elliott and Mikosi, who's just been playing in the World Cup. Like they're doing all right. I think it's going to look a little bit maybe fragmented, and that's kind of ultimately my concern with Chicago is not like, hey, we've
Mm-hmm.
got a world class attacking player that we're throwing into the loop, but it's how that all gels together. And I can just see a pretty quick rift. And it's not necessarily like, oh, sharing the ball is not going to work. I think it's committing that extra number forward, and what that looks like. Because asking Bamba and Zinkernagel to come back and defend a little bit, not sure that you can expect a whole lot there. You already send Gutman and Barroso, the outside backs, up very advanced for being true outside backs. So all that to say, I think in theory it should be great. There's a lot of there's a lot of very valid reasons to hold cautious optimism, and just basically say I'll believe it when I see it, because I think how this team's going to flow is going to be a little bit all gas, no brakes. I think they're going to make for some fun games, and you can never truly count them out of a game, even if they go down, a goal or two. But as far as controlling games and getting games the way they want them, I'm not sure that this is, the move that's going to get them there.
Yeah, it will. I'll say this: I would be terrified to go against this team in set pieces now.
Yeah.
Like Kuipers, Lewandowski, Jack Elliott, like these guys are towers that are going to be destroying you on set pieces. So I think that will be a fun experiment to watch with this team. But I mean, I think this team is still so talented. Like I think they're way talented enough to make the playoffs. Like that's been the expectation for Chicago this year. Is like not just the playing game, but like make the playoffs this year was the goal coming into it. And I think they're going to do that pretty easily still, even with the adjustment. And I think there's a scenario where this goes really well, like really, really, really well, and they score a ton of goals still, and it's just like this team is just buzzing. So I think that's what you're hoping for from a Chicago fan perspective. Well, let's stick, by the way, we're going to stick first to some incomings and interleague transfers before we talk about some of the outgoings, because there are some huge outgoings that occurred as well. An interesting one that happened was Alan St. Maximin to Charlotte. This one is rumored like right at the beginning of the World Cup, and then just became finalized the other day. This is a guy, and if you're a FIFA player from the past decade, you'd recognize this guy because he's just known for being like a meta type player in the game. But he has been in the Premier League. Like he's been in the League One. Like he's hopped around now the past couple years. Very checkered past couple years. Yeah, very checkered past couple years where it's been very up and down. One of those guys that like the talent's there. It's just about like how often you're going to get it from a game-to-game basis. Mm-hmm. From a neutral, I'm not trying to sound like a hater. I just don't know how this is any different than Wilfried Zaha in any scenario. Like, it's just not. It's just the same. Like, he's maybe a little bit younger and a little more agile than he is, but I would say he's not as good as a finisher as Wilfried Zaha is. And, like, this is just another, like, we'll see what we get maybe out of something like this. I know it's a free transfer, so that it's a risk that they're willing to take on this, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like you're just bringing in like the same type of character like in the locker room as Wilfried Zaha. So I don't really know. I don't feel optimistic. I don't think this is one of the ones that ends well, unfortunately. Like I think this is gonna be one in a year. He's just not with Charlotte anymore. So we'll see how it all ends up.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Like, it's just rinse and repeat with Zaha, and kind of the questions of like where are we really trying to go with this team, and where are we building. So I can understand that. I think that one thing to keep in mind with the way that Charlotte's built right now, and by the way, they do have an open DP spot, is the way I understand it right now. So they may not be done, but is that they kind of seem to be. An interesting team in the sense that they build like they'll spend some money, but they won't spend a lot or all of it. Mm-hmm. Like, you mentioned this free transfer, and like occasionally they'll kind of do these decent size. Oh, I know that name type transfers, but at the end of the day, like it kind of seems like there's really this disparity that's kind of happened with the transfer spend in Charlotte. Like the top tier stuff they'll hit. And then, like, the middle tier stuff that, it's kind of wishy-washy. And then the lower tier stuff, they actually have some solid players. And it just kind of leaves for this really fragmented roster. But also, it's been this fragmented feel with the team and their results. Just in the first half of this season and even beyond that, where it's kind of been this, like, good but not great performance. Like we'll get into the playoffs, we'll feel comfortable that we're not sweating if we're going to be in or out on the last day. And then when it comes to the best of three, like we kind of just struggle our way through and don't fall flat. And that just kind of seems to be the trajectory that Charlotte's on at the moment. And I think that that's the frustration, like in the bigger picture with this move, is it's like, what are we doing to get better? Like Toklamati, I think for what he is a really good striker in this league. The problem is that you're in a league that everybody, not everybody, but most people slot their DPs on attacking strikers. And when you hold Toklamati up against these other strikers, like he's not the same caliber. He's not going to be able to perform at the same level. And I think that you feel a little bit there, like just kind of generally about like everything with this roster is like you hold up their best player, and I don't know if individually anyone is like a top 10 player in their position on the Charlotte team, and that's kind of been what's really fallen flat with them. They're all decent, they're all good, but are they great? And this move just doesn't feel like we're building for great. This move feels like we're building, we're rolling the dice, and if this works out, we could hit big, but we don't know, kind of thing. So I think overall, like definitely as a neutral, incredibly interesting to watch. Definitely like gonna have eyes on that for sure and watch the headlines. Can't imagine that he's going to be as dramatic as Zaha when it comes to some of the press stuff. So that's I guess in its own way, maybe a little bit of a bummer, but for Charlotte's stability, good. And we'll see where it goes. I mean, we could be putting our foot in our mouth right now, ranting about this, and it actually works out like awesome. But it just kind of feels like one of those things where it'll be okay, not here nor there, and a little bit stuck in the cycle for Charlotte.
Yeah, once again, free transfer, so that eliminates some of the risk that this is. It's going to be all wages, basically, for a guy like this. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not worth the risk. I just think that it feels like a very Charlotte-y move. Like, it's just how they've kind of operated the past couple of years. So, we'll see how it plays out. Two guys here, Tony, I'm just going to group together because, the reality is we watch a lot of soccer. We don't watch every league in the world. And Benny Traore going to NYCFC, and then Bryce Mendes going to Columbus. Two teams that we knew coming this year needed attacking talent, and attempted to, did not get it before the season, and are now addressing it at this point. I think, like I said, I have never watched either of these two guys on a day-to-day basis. Like I don't know how they're going to dramatically change these teams. I know. Benny's he's what I've read on is just like a quick attacker, like he's a goal scorer, like from the wing position, and then Mendes is a facilitator, like he is kind of like the engine, almost like it's the Gazdag replacement basically for the Columbus and what they wanted him to be for this team. A older guy that's coming from La Liga, straight from La Liga, so like this is a guy that's used to playing at a very high level, and I think that's exactly what Columbus needs in their attack. So I think these are both two moves that are positions of need for these teams, and something that we knew they needed to address. We'll see how much they really shake up, but they come on decent fees. I mean, 8 and 6 million euros for both of them. So I think it's pretty penny being paid by these teams, and it's, in my opinion, worth the risk because these two teams desperately need this kind of help.
I need to say I'm a little bit hurt that you called Mendes an older guy when we were born in the same year as him.
Isn't it sad?
That part stings a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a whole timeline discussion. I know this is Premier League talk, but Yuri Tillman's going to United, and I saw a bunch of people being like, "Gosh, this guy's 29. Like they're buying this aging guy. Like he's gonna be out of the league soon." I'm like, 29? What?
Yeah, it's a good age, everyone.
I'm like, you know what? No, I groan when I pick up my daughter. I am old. Yep, that's true.
Yeah, that part I was like, wait, old? And it's like, looking at that, it's like, oh yeah, it's the same birth year as me.
And I'm also saying it because it's also MLS perspective. I mean, younger league. I mean, besides the big retirement type stars that come in our league, for the most part, our league is 20 or 18 to 24-year-olds that are trying to make their next big move. So when you do bring in a guy like this, he's almost the outlier, like someone coming in their prime years. from a top league, it
Hmm.
usually means that he's not quite good enough to stay in a league like that. And but he still is in his prime, so he's still got years to offer at a high level in a league like this.
Yeah. As far as the moves go and the actual stuff, I mean, like, Crew are obviously in a rebuild. I think, one thing to lump into this too was obviously selling Rossi is a huge indicator, right? That they view this as kind of resetting shop. Um, the interesting part is like you said, kind of the age is important here in the sense that like I'm not sure they necessarily view Mendez as like, hey, this is the linchpin, like marquee key piece that we're going to build around here. This almost feels like, yeah, here's a quality guy that's going to like raise our floor. It's going to keep us relevant as we kind of reestablish these things and figure out what life after Nancy looks like. So I think that's a big thing here is that I think he's going to be quality. I think he's going to have good minutes in MLS, but as far as longevity and how he's around and what his role looks like, I think maybe he's key for now, but maybe not the long term linchpin. We're anchoring we're throwing all our chips on him. So I think that's something to watch, just kind of as they're in this transitioning period, what that looks like and how much they bank on him. And frankly, I haven't really seen anything. It just kind of feels like the writing's on the wall here. Is like how long is he truly going to stay here? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something. And then going back to Traore with New York City, I do like this move in the sense that like we've always talked about New York City, and they've always like been this sneaky like dark horse team that when they get hit hot at the right time, you do not want to stand in their way. And the hope with Traore is again same thing with age. This is different. He's a 23-year-old,
Uh-huh.
and for a good fee like that, if things work out with New York City, like he could be a guy that kind of hits that exponential rise if they find him in his stride. And I think that right now the way this team is built out is that they do love to kind of hit on these like counterattacking moves, which you mentioned, like kind of on Traore's scouting report, is that he has a burst to him. He's got a quick step on him, and that could feed in really well. I mean, he's kind of taking the Hannes Wolf spot a little bit, in my opinion, and like Hannes Wolf has found his goals, I think, a little bit differently, and a lot of times you kind of find him in the pocket, like kind of in front of the center backs, or like a ricochet, like saved shot that he's there to clean up those kind of areas. I think this is different and lets New York City kind of get on the front foot a little bit more in their attack. And like we said, like they can really get you if you're not paying attention. I know like Maxi Morales and the ACL stuff is a huge blow for them, but I believe Alonso Martinez should be close to getting back too.
I was about to say
Um,
it's
right,
almost
that's a
like another
fun bump for
transfer.
them.
Yep.
Right, and we can't forget like it was kind of this weird introduction where Nico Fernandez, their other DP, like came in and like maybe wasn't like putting his name in headlights, but also having a sneaky good season with his goal contributions. And so like you look at that front three, that attacking front three, and I mean that's where all they're putting all their DPs. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it seems like a solid team when they've got a high ceiling really with their attack. Again, they get hot at the right time. You do not want to be standing in their way.
Yep. Two transfers we're not going to discuss, but I just want to point out both Kansas City and Colorado get center back help with some guys outside the league for decent fees. I mean, $3 million for each.
Yeah.
You got to. I mean, that's positions of need for both those teams. So you got to imagine that can only be helpful for them. I'm going to switch our tune here a little bit, Tony. We have had a handful of interleague transfers as well during this time. I'm going to highlight a few, and then what I want you to do is talk about the one that you are most interested in
Okay.
out of this grouping. One I'm going to throw in there, and you're not going to talk about it. But Saba went. I said this in pre-show. Saba went to RSL, was shocked, just had no idea that happened.
Yeah.
So
Sneaky.
that's a sneaky, interesting one. Daniel Pereira going to Montreal is a good move for Montreal. Nathan Ordaz going to DC United just came out as of more recently. That's a huge move for DC and what they're doing. And then Duncan McGuire going to Houston Dynamo is another one that interleague that happened during the World Cup time that I think could be a sneaky move that could go well. But out of those names, which ones interest you the most? You mentioned in the pre-show. I think you're going to highlight one guy
Yeah.
specifically, so I want to hear your take on that one.
I mean, unless you want to talk about it and I can go an alt
Nope,
route.
nope. I'll pick a different one. Yep.
Okay. Because I have a good backup too, but I definitely like Ordaz to DC United. Like you said, really interesting with the project that's been going on there, and just kind of the, I guess, overall floor raising that they've been going through really this last season. Nathan Ordaz will be a plug-in starter at the right wing or right midfield for DC United. Before we get into the team stuff, I really like this move for him just as a player. I think he's going to see a lot more minutes
Playing
here
time.
than
Yep.
than he's going to see in LAFC, and especially for his profile, where he's a little bit younger and up and coming. And I think in a lot of ways, like just with where he's at, was probably at a ceiling with LAFC and kind of taking the most out of the opportunity he was going to get there. So I like this move for him. I mean, he's only 22, but I like this move for them in the sense that like he's going to get way more minutes and really get to showcase and grow, I think, and maybe what he's capable of, which could be fun to watch and see like this guy that, kind of sparked at LAFC, but maybe has a lot more leg room now at DC United. Now, as a team and like how DC United looks, I think it's overall like it's kind of another continuation of the floor raising process that they've been going through. I will say that out of like the recent moves they've made, I feel like this one is a little bit on the side of more adventurous than it is like a known quantity. Baribo like is just gonna bang goals into the back of the net. And he's gonna finish chances. Like I think Ordaz is a little bit of a not so much of a known quantity. We know that he's capable of doing great things and scoring goals when LAFC needed him, but being able to rely on him on that kind of day in day out basis, that's uncharted territory for everybody here. So I do want to like applaud Ordaz for the move just as a player, but I think for DC United this is a little bit of them kind of breaking out of their shell a little bit and saying, okay, we've got the core. Let's start seeing if things can hit. Like it's a little bit different than Charlotte in the sense that they've been just so dirt bad that it's just like just try anything, please. And they're trying stuff now, and that's what I want to applaud here is that they're getting after it and saying like, here's a promising young player. I think they've kind of found a little bit of a soft spot in the market there, and the ceiling could be pretty high, and that could work out really well for them. That they get a high level attacking player potentially shows the potential of it, and maybe they hold on to him for a year or two, sell him for a fee, they don't keep him. Or it becomes a linchpin. Either of those things. These are just conversations that we don't have that like about a DC United player, and so that's what makes me excited about this overall is that they kind of went for this kind of move, and it seems to just be a pretty decent fit for the player and the team.
Yep. Really quick, the one I want to touch on. I think I'm not gonna. This isn't the one I'm touching on, but I think Pereira is like it's such a solid move for Montreal just in terms of like floor raising in that position. It's just still Montreal's talent deficit that
Yeah,
yes, this move is good. It's just more of the same. Like they're just finding good budget
yeah.
buys in the league to
That's
keep
their
them
MO.
afloat,
Yeah,
and it's just still not gonna be enough to push them forward. So I don't want to have that one. I think Duncan McGuire is the most interesting one that is remaining, in my opinion. I think that this guy needed a reset with Griezmann coming in. Like that was just he was naturally going to be left on the bench because of this. And this is a guy that not too long ago was about to make the biggest move of his career, go to the championship, and it's just really gone downhill. And I really feel for the kid. I mean, injuries have killed him, and the Orlando just chaos has killed him at times with Muriel coming in, like so many different moves that have happened around him that it seems like they just didn't really have a plan for him anymore. Ever since that failed transfer, that's what it's felt like. It's felt like that they were
yeah,
trying to move on without him, and then it didn't happen, and then they didn't really have a backup plan, so they've just been trying to cram him in. And I think this is a good fresh start for him. I also think from a Houston perspective, it's interesting because they're finally bringing someone to like almost challenge Ponce a little bit, be like, hey, dude, you don't score enough. Like you just don't. Like you've had this
yeah.
change, basically the reins for 3 years, and you just don't. Like you're our number 10 that plays the nine that doesn't score. Like that's what he's been. And I think this is like a totally like low risk move for the Houston to be like, we've seen this guy score a ton of goals in the MLS when he gets going. like this is a good, in my opinion, just budget buy from where Houston's at to be like, let's see if we can get this guy to catch fire and ride out him as like the front man on our line, and maybe they do drop Ponce or something like they mix it up
Mm,
and they try and like fit it all in and see how it all works. But in my opinion, I think creating chances has not always been the issue for this Houston team this year. It's just been about finishing chances, and I think it's not going to hurt to try somebody else in that spot and see if like a guy and Duncan McGuire. I mean, still like just from like a footballing like appearance on the field, like a big body that can just be in the box and cause havoc. And I think he still has it. I really do. I think he's not. I don't think he still has the point where he's going to get a move anywhere. But I think in an MLS, like he can be a fine striker up top for a team. That can, if like one of those guys that can just get hot for about like 5 to 6 weeks at a time, and it's like okay, he's just scoring a ton of goals right now. So in my opinion, it's just a low risk move and a guy that's gonna be highly motivated for his next step. Like he's wanted out of there. He's finally out of there, and he's gonna have a chance to prove it in Houston, where they desperately need goals. I mean, this is a team
yeah.
that needs goals, and he's the hopefully the guy that fills that role for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like the fresh neighborhood for McGuire. I think that was probably good to get out of Orlando, especially the writing on the wall, like you said with Griezmann. He's not going to start there. My understanding is that it wasn't a done deal that Ponce's staying. So I think that there's a chance that like McGuire is the kind of like week in week out starter in that
Mm-hmm.
case, at least until proven otherwise. And that's pretty interesting for me because I think if anything I've taken away from this first half of the season with Houston, and just kind of where their roster is like it just doesn't feel very cohesive. They have some good pieces individually, like Guilherme has had a quietly good season. Obviously, Bogusz, I think, has taken a little bit to kind of find his feet in Houston, but we know what he can do in MLS, and he's shown flashes of that with Houston. Um, and then you just throw in McGuire, who's kind of same boat, where it's like we know what we can do he can do in MLS, but it kind of has been a minute because of these injuries, and just kind of roster moves in Orlando. Like we have not seen a lot of Duncan McGuire for a while, and I just worry like if you're going to replace really a DP in your roster, like presumably, like if they got rid of Ponce, they're going to move that DP slot somewhere else other than center forward because you just brought in Duncan McGuire. Like, do you fall a little bit into the Charlotte trap that I'm just going to call it there, where it's like again, like kind of with Tokomati, like for what he is, like probably a good striker. But comparatively across the league, like, is that what you need? Is that what's going to be able to get you over the hill? It's not like Houston's defense is like drop dead and outstanding or anything like that. So I worry about that a little bit. That it almost, not a lack of ambition, but just feels like could Houston have done a little bit more there? So from a team perspective, I'm not sure that I get super excited about that, especially if Ponce's on the move. But
Mm-hmm.
for Duncan McGuire, I think that was the best thing to do was to get out of Orlando, and honestly, finding a setup where he's a starting striker, I think is really good for him.
Totally, I agree. Okay, well that's I'm gonna leave it there for incomings. I mean, we're gonna have plenty of time over the next couple weeks to continue to talk about some of these guys, especially as we see them on the field. I think that's like
Yeah.
the biggest like we're gonna be like, oh, who's this, and you're gonna be able to talk about it. There's two outgoings that are pretty significant in the league right now. I'm gonna name. I'm gonna let you have your pick of the poison. I'm gonna let you pick which one you think is gonna be more impactful or more significant for the in your opinion, and then I'll go on the other one. But it is Diego Rossi, which we touched on
Yeah.
earlier in the World Cup, leaving the Columbus Crew. Pretty very significant departure for the Columbus Crew. I mean, kind of signals like what you said, a rebuild. Like this is just a
Right.
restart point for this franchise. And then you have Gabriel Peck leaving the LA Galaxy. That one kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it during this window. If I'm being honest, I thought it maybe would have
Hmm.
been in the next window. And uh, they pretty get they get a pretty penny for him. I'm not even gonna hate them for doing what they're
Right.
doing. I mean, I think it's like 10.5 million euros. Like that's a pretty significant fee for what this guy has been providing as of late. So I'll let you have the floor here. Pick the one that you want to go at, and I'll go off on the other one.
Yeah, I'll take Beck. I will. I mean, we talked about Rossi. I think there's bigger picture stuff there that you can drive home. I already talked about a little bit. With Peck, I think that like you said, I think the fee was right. For a while, it has kind of been the idea that Peck eventually would move on, right? I mean, there was a period right after MLS Cup where like Arsenal was watching him pretty close, and that was a deal there. And then like Galaxy kind of fell off, and simultaneously with that, that was part of like Peck falling off too. So I mean, $10 million to get him out the door, I think, is still a good fee. And it just felt like the way that things shifted with the Galaxy with Puig going down was, Peck trying to play a little bit too much hero ball. If he had a heat map for his shots, I guarantee you see 90% of them like just outside the corner of the box, and they're him trying to curl it in far post, and like they either get blocked or don't go on target, and it's just been a little bit frustrating watching Peck specifically in a vacuum. That being said, I think that for him, like a move somewhere where he could potentially like kind of get the service that he really needs in order to flourish, that could be a great spot for him. And then for Galaxy, I think this is just taking advantage of an opportune time. Obviously, in between injuries with Puig, Zhao Klaus, I don't know what the status on his injury was, but it had been out for a while. I don't know if he's supposed to be back here soon, but again, one of those things where like this team kind of feels a little bit held together by duct tape and bubble gum, and when you get an opportunity like that and you can move on Peck for a good value, like I think you just take it, and it's a little bit bummer to say, but it's part of the business of the sport too, where it's like you do have to buy low, sell high, and this was the time. And I think the Galaxy are a little bit in the middle here. They do have good backup options on the wings. Like, I mean, obviously they still have Paintsill, but Eric Tommy is also on this team as well, who's been a Sporting Kansas City veteran and has banged in a lot of goals for them. So it's not like you're getting nothing replaced there, and potentially maybe even someone who plays into the system a little bit better than Peck did.
Yeah, I think my concern is that I just hope there's a plan for the LA Galaxy that is not just this is freeing up the Puig spot when he does come back next year. Like I and you're keeping Klaus. Like I hope
Yeah.
there's hope there's a better plan than that. That's my only fear with this, and it
Yeah.
feels like a little bit of a white flag wave from the Galaxy here, just being like injury luck, all these things these past 2 years have just been really rough, and we're gonna get out on a guy that's our highest value player on the roster right now while he still has that value. Because, I mean, we both predicted he'd be the one of the guys that were going to go. Like if it was him or Paintsill, his market was better. I just didn't know his
Yeah.
market was as good still, and I think that's
Right.
probably what the Galaxy were also thinking is like, hey, let's go sell him to Brazil where he's from, where they're going to value him higher than anywhere else, and get our pretty penny for him. So feels like kind of a no brainer, unfortunately for Galaxy fans. I mean, Peck had his moments, helped win a trophy. Like this is like I think you can just be like, yep, this is a clean cut. Like this is all good, and you can call it there. Diego Rossi, the guy has just been. I mean, I think back to the days where they brought in uh, Diego Rossi to help win the championship, basically for the Columbus Crew. Like it, these moves, because Cucho, if I remember correctly, was there first, and then they brought back Diego Rossi as kind of like
Mm.
this in the into the MLS. I'm saying back is into the MLS as this piece to really like finish off the roster that ended up winning the MLS Cup, and he's just a Columbus Crew legend. Like that's just what he is at this point, and regardless of it being a good deal, which I think it is, like I mean they got a good amount of money for the age and where he's at in his
Yeah.
career. It's still just a gut punch to the fan base. Like I've talked to a handful of Columbus Crew fans. We live amongst them here in Cincinnati, Columbus area, and I think the feedback has all been the same. It's like it's a good fee. It just sucks. Like this is just like the feelings you have when your team does like a full teardown like they're doing. I mean, you're
Hmm.
seeing so many legends that have left this club over the past few years, and this feels like the cherry on top of it all. Like this was the last guy standing that I think everyone pointed to and was like, this is the Columbus Crew way. Um, and on top of that, I mean, like you're now seeing the rumors of Max Arfston going to the championship. Like you're seeing like these things happen where it's just clear as day what's going on, and I feel for them to that degree. It's not a fun process, but I do think it's essential. Like we've seen this Columbus Crew team so far this year. This team was not winning anything. They're not talented enough, and Diego Rossi's only getting older. So I totally get the perspective of the Columbus Crew to be like, hey, we're being offered how much money for this? How this aging Diego
Right.
Rossi? Like this is the moment. We've got to be able to like cut ties and just be like, it is what it is. He's a servant of the club. Like he's been awesome, and that's great. But like holding on to him for one more year and this transfer fee going in half isn't going to help them. And I think this is just about the future of the Columbus Crew, and I think the long run will be a good thing for them. But it's going to be a rough second half of the year. Like it's not going to be
Yeah.
pretty, and it's going to be tough to watch at times. We'll see. Like you said, I mean, they have Mendez coming in, so who knows what that looks like. But he's going to be playing some of that Diego Rossi type role for this team at times, where he's going to have to do a lot of the work. And it's hard to adjust to a new league right away. So I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that, and this team's gonna be looking for a lot of answers. That's for sure. And Diego Rossi is the biggest hole you could have on the team, and that's the reality of what's happened. So
Yeah.
tough situation for them. Well, that's a little bit of the transfer update. It's I think we're still anticipating a lot more to come. It's rumor mill central, of course. The two that aren't for sure that are being rumored a ton are Casemiro, of course, is the big one for Inter Miami. Which say what you want about Casemiro, the dude is still a legit
Right.
football player, like at a
Still
high
scoring for
level.
Brazil. Yeah.
As much as like you think he's old, like he just had one of his best seasons in Manchester United this past year, and went and just started for the national team for Brazil all World Cup. So like this dude still has it. Where adding him in for this season for Inter Miami, it's like oh my god, like come on.
Yeah.
So I think you're probably seeing this year and the next year for Inter Miami is like the window. Like the in my opinion, like I don't know how much longer we'll see Messi after that point, and like a lot of these older guys will probably move on. So I really think this is like a year and a half window that we're gonna be looking at heading into like the new format of the MLS. Maybe that's the final year of the new format. So it will be interesting to watch. That's for sure. And these older guys are going to get a lot of rest with the change in format and the shortened season next season, all these things with the MLS. So
Right. It's gonna
it
be
might
wild.
be kind of the appealing factor of some of these guys coming to the MLS right now is like, get a lot of downtime in between. But let's move on to some games, Tony. Well,
Can't
we
believe it.
talk about transfers because we want to talk about the games. That's what it comes down to. And we've got 4 on Thursday. And Tony, we're not going to have very detailed like predictions here because I have no idea what to expect from these teams coming out of the break. I like this is just a guess. Like at this point, without seeing these teams and how they look and some of the changes they've had. Um, but Tony, I don't know if there's any better way to start our previews after the World Cup than Toronto because that's how we started every single preview before the World Cup because they
Right.
played every 1 o'clock game in the world. It's not in Toronto though; it's in Montreal. As you're going to see Toronto on the road a ton in the second half of this season because of all the home games they played in the first half, as they had to prepare for the World Cup, things like that happening with their stadium. So this is going to be a battle of Canada to get us started, and everyone should be healthy for the most part. Like Toronto should be in a much better health state than they were before the World Cup. I think the time off will be beneficial for a guy like Josh Sargent, who I mean came in the middle of the beginning of the season, and really had to jump into games. I think the main reason he was coming back to the United States and MLS to begin with was family time, and I think he just got a lot of that over the World Cup to just be with them and be able to get reacclimated. And I think that's only going to be beneficial to this Toronto team as they get healthy. Walker Zimmerman gets healthy. Georgi Mihailovic should be getting healthy, and
Yeah.
should be ready to go, which we've never seen those two together in terms of Sargent and Mihailovic. So that's going to be a fun combination to watch now. They're just going to have to play really well, though. Like they dropped a ton of points at home, and now they're gonna have to make up for it on the road. No better way to start against Montreal. No offense, Montreal. Like this is a team that is not going to be at full strength even after this because Owusu's on a red card suspension.
Oh, I didn't
Uh,
even know that.
so
That's
he can't even
crazy.
play in this game.
Oh,
So like this is a perfect opportunity for Toronto to start out well. Um, and Wiki Carmona's not even playing either for them. So like this is
jeez,
like a
yeah.
team that's hurt, and some of their best players aren't playing. And Toronto's gonna have to take advantage of that. Like this is a chance for them to start off right in the second half. I think they will with Owusu especially being out, and I think it's gonna be great to start out in Toronto again.
I think they will too, but you never know if we're gonna get a Danny Pereira, CF Montreal debut
Yep.
legacy game. So. But I mean, seriously though, I think that, like you said, this break, even though that Toronto's going to end up on the road for a lot of these games here, was probably the best thing to happen to Toronto. They out of most teams were feeling the injury bug, and so like you said, that's a crazy stat that Sargent and Mihailovic have not even been able to play together in this season. I mean, it's two of your DPS right there. So like
Hmm.
that's a big move for them. That's big for Toronto. This could be a fun way for them to kind of re-enter the season and just like guns ablazing, like announce that they're here and they're ready to play. So I do think that this one's going to go Toronto's way. Sorry, Montreal, you have it in you. I mean, it is impressive that they're only in 11th. All things considered, like that they have ripped off a few upsets this year. But this is just not going to be one that favors them, I don't think, unfortunately.
Yep. Yep. We'll see. Maybe. Hey, maybe New Montreal second half. They're not playing a team from New York though, which that's like the only team way
Yeah,
they won
right. It
last.
was either New York or Orlando. Those are the only people
Yeah.
they could beat. So,
Um, moving on, we had Chicago at home versus Vancouver. Two great teams in the first half, so this will be probably the best matchup of the bunch on Thursday.
Berhalter Bowl.
Yep. Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I wonder if Sebastian will play. I'll be interested to actually see if how these World Cup guys are
Yeah.
treated.
I don't know.
Um, you know, Lewandowski's not going to play. I actually just checked. He just arrived Chicago 25 minutes ago. There's there was a post that he's like
That's
in and they're doing interviews and stuff right now. So he will most certainly not play in this game.
that's very good reporting there. Yeah.
And I'm up to date on my reporting on that. You know, who knows? Maybe we get like a bench appearance though, and he just like subs on
Yeah,
late.
right,
That'd be
right.
kind of fun. Um, but this is a Vancouver side that was amazing in the first half of the season. Like, just underrated at this point with what they're doing on a week to week basis because I think people are just used to it. Like, this is not normal for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Like, for to be doing this for this long. Thomas Muller gets the time off. Will probably be good for him. Like a guy
Yeah.
of that age. Like I said, this break will be good for a lot of those aging superstars. He's one of them. Um, I, I don't know where to go in this game because the Chicago team looked good and they could score. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I really do. Like I think this might be like a 3-1, 3-2 type game. I'm gonna go Vancouver on the road. I'm already picking against home dogs early on in the campaign here.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm also interested to see what this crowd looks like. Like,
Yeah.
is a city like Chicago gonna respond to the World Cup? And is they gonna have good attendance at the game? It's weird at Soldier Field, but maybe they will, and they'll soon be in the McDonald's arena, defending their honor.
Park to you, McDonald's Park.
Yeah, sorry, my
Uh,
bad.
yeah, they don't have a
McDonald's arena
dome over
kind
it,
of
I
sounds
think.
better. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is a hard game to call. Like, is Vancouver's momentum still going to be there? I mean, even without Berhalter, we've known that, like, the way that Vancouver's played has been kind of like the team is the star in a way. Obviously, they still have great players with Mueller and Brian White, and Blackman, even. Like, those guys have still, like, had their moments where they've shown, but it does feel like this is just a Vancouver system that just generally suffocates pretty well.
Hmm.
That being said, I think if there's anybody that can kind of break free from that Vancouver press, it might be Chicago in the way that they also like kind of attack with reckless abandon at times. So if they're able to find their chances, which honestly with Kuipers I kind of trust that they would, I think that this is a game that could honestly be a little bit back and forth and hard to tell who's going to be the victor. So for those reasons, I think I'm going to slap a draw on this one. I'm going to say we got a high scoring draw on our hands, but points shared. Like I don't know that Vancouver is going to necessarily walk away with all this. And I don't know that Chicago's really got the overall quality, especially just first game back, that they'd be able to kind of stifle a tough Vancouver team.
Hmm. I agree. It's going to be entertaining. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. We'll see. Once again, we don't know what type of teams to expect from these type of groups. Like I just don't know who's available, who's not available. So it's going to be tough to call games based on that. Uh, some sicko shit here. St. Louis and Kansas City on the opening night back in the MLS. You can't be marketing MLS is back and then put this on the
I know this
opening
is
game.
rough.
Um,
Well, they
St.
slid it
Louis,
in with another game, so
yeah,
they're hiding it.
yeah. St.
By the way, we
Louis,
got to play this. Yeah.
yeah. St. Louis sneakily was in good form before that we went on to the World Cup. They had won three of the last four, or three of the last five, and then only lost one of those. Like they were 3-1-1 in that stretch, and that's like majority of their points from the season happened right there at the end in that stretch. And SKC is really bad. They stink. They signed the defender, so they're trying to help a little bit. I don't know, man. It's just I'm gonna go home team when there's two teams as poor as this, and just be like, that's what I'm banking on. So I'm gonna go St. Louis at home. I'm sure that crowd's gonna be fun and exciting for that one. So we'll go St. Louis and not look back.
Yeah, I'm right there with you too. Oh,
By the way, quick side note. I totally forgot to say this in the rumors, but because I was talking about Casemiro, Salah to SKC was kind of put out there in the universe.
We don't believe it though, do we?
No, it's not going to happen. They were very quick to say that, but it was like they're the front runner in the MLS. I'm like, why? Like, why is SKC front? Like, you're telling me LA Galaxy that just got rid of Gabriel Peck can't just be like, hey, let's bring in Mohamed Salah, like play the same position. Like, let's do that. So that was bizarre, but I don't think he's coming to MLS. I think he has to stay in Europe.
There's a reason.
Then the owner kind of commented on it, was like, our ambition is there. It's like, sweet, dude. Yeah. You're not still haven't signed anybody. Like, it's cool. Yeah, you're trying unrealistic signings. Cool. Yeah, congratulations.
Correct. He replied to Bogart's tweet because it was basically like, hey, long shot but solid SKC. And then he said more realistic, hefty fees with that defender and then I believe someone else. And they're like, basically injecting cash into the roster. And that's when he replied and said, like, hey, this is what we said when I got here. Like, we are going to invest in this. And, kind of just trying to say, hey, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And it's like, all right, well, just because you're putting money down does not mean these guys are being good or anything. So there's layers to it. But, I mean, I guess it's positives because Sporting Kansas City was not even putting money down. But, man, it is such a meme to me that, like, these were the guys, like, of all of MLS, somehow Sporting Kansas City ends up being the ones with the rumors with Ronaldo, and now like Mo Salah. Like, how this is just not our best foot forward here with some of these stars. Like, I do not understand how they keep ending up being like, yeah, it's us, But it's a little ridiculous about the game though. Obviously, want to take St. Louis at home here. Like you said, on a warm little form before the World Cup break. On top of that, I think that like a lot of the theme of this season so far, the first few games under Yohan Neme has been the process, the formula seems to be pretty clear. Execution maybe isn't quite there because the roster is a little bit behind, but it seems like generally like good transition is happening in St. Louis. I think we need to trust that a little bit in this match too. I think that like we're going to see probably just better control and overall play from St. Louis and Sporting Kansas City in this. Where, yes, the roster is not there, but it also feels like, and maybe it's just because the team's been so bad, but the ideas haven't really been there with Sporting Kansas City either. And slapping in a random center back that has a decent fee maybe is not going to fix all your problems. So I think it's, to me, a little bit of a no-brainer to roll St. Louis on this one.
Yep. And then we got nightcap here. Seattle Sounders at home versus Portland. An alternate storyline with a lot of these teams is the coaching changes that have happened. There's a handful of it, and Portland is one of them. And have they hired anybody in
I
replace
don't think
yet?
so.
It's just
Yeah.
interim.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, man. I don't really get these teams firing these coaches right now. Like before the World Cup and not bringing anybody in. I don't really get it. Like I don't like I know the timing is like interim guy can kind of make his changes, but it's also like I feel like the time where you would have brought someone in, regardless if it was Neville in there or not. I mean Seattle's is about to be belt. That's the only opinion I got on this one. I think they take care of business at home and keep up the good start they had in the first half and win this one pretty convincingly, probably like 3-1.
That's what the mind says, for sure. There all the way. But you got to remember this is Cascadia Cup. And one of the long running like themes with this matchup specifically is the away team like for some reason always dominates this.
Oh,
Talk to any Seattle fan and they will tell you that Portland, like they just know Portland wrecks them in Seattle. Like it's weird that I haven't. We can go back on the head to heads here, and like you find it's way closer than what you think. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm just saying we need to be on alert here. We got to be
so Friday recording will be ready to be let down.
yeah,
Like, it'll
correct.
be
Just
like,
be a sound mind, and say like it seems easy, and don't be mad when we come back on here and it's like, oh, that did not go the way we think it did because like this game just has that way of doing it. So I'm gonna go a little alt here. I'm gonna say draw. I think that it's just tradition like no other is the way these teams play. They are great matches. I mean, just point blank, they are great matches. Whether Seattle win, I mean, like it's a rivalry game. That's the fun one with this one. It's a nightcap on this one. 10:30 on a Thursday is a bit rough, but if you're awake, it's probably going to be good television. So tune in for that. But I think this one's going to be a draw, and I don't think there's any clean sheets here either. So I think this is a 1-1, maybe 2-2 type score.
yeah, if you're a World Cup watcher primarily and you want to watch MLS, the World Cup group stage trained you for this start time.
Yeah, right.
You're ready for this. You were built for this. So
It's not Guadalajara anymore. It's
no,
it's Seattle.
it's on a rainy day in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's gonna do it for our preview here. We have games. I can't believe there's games back. I really
It's
can't believe
unbelievable.
it. So we'll be recording right after some of these finish and while they're happening. So we'll make sure to do some recap and talk more about the World Cup games and any more transfers that come through. But we're excited. MLS is back, baby. We are back and recapping, previewing games. We've got it gets like a playoff push stretch. Like it is like you got half a season. It's a shortened season basically to make a push here and get in the playoffs and we're gonna have some playoffs here later in this year, which will be a lot of fun. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys on Friday's episode. And with that being said, we'll see you soon.
See.